February 8th. I'm Rim.
And I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight we talk about professionalism.
Let's do this. Well, today I woke up, and when I got myself together at around, I don't know, 9, I did my usual business. I took the 10:50 train to the city. I got to the city like noonish. I went in. I saw the new office, which is all fancy. And I said, all right, now that I've seen your new office and it's all fancy, I quit. I'm out. I'm done.
So how'd they take it?
They were just kind of like, oh, well, you know, good luck. Where are you working? All right. We still like you. Come back if you want. You know. And that was it.
All right. Did they make you sign any non-competes or anything?
No, I didn't. I think I signed a non-compete when I got there.
See, I don't think I would have taken a job that made me sign something like that in the first place.
Well, it wasn't a bad non-compete. It wasn't like, you know, it's one kind of non-compete that says, let's say you're a plumber, right? And you work for someone plumbing. There's a non-compete that says you can't plumb for anyone else. It's like, great, well, now my only skill I'm not allowed to use anywhere but here. This non-compete was pretty much I couldn't work for a competing company. So I'm working for a company that provides small business services. Well, I was until today. So I couldn't go work at another company that provides small business services.
Yeah, I just generally really don't feel comfortable signing agreements like that in regards to my employment.
I generally don't like, you know, signing a lot of kinds of agreements, and I'm hoping at the new place I'm not going to have to sign so much bullshit. I'm getting the feeling I won't because it's a private company and not a public company, so they're not beholden to shareholders, so they don't make you sign shit that, you know, they don't care about because who's going to complain?
I just remember it was funny that when I left IBM, they made me sign a lot more stuff than when I got hired by IBM.
Yeah. All I had to do was I had to sign a thing that says, yes, they told me all these things, like, you know, yes, I was informed that I can't talk about patents. Yes, I was informed that I can't reveal trade secrets. Yes, you know. And then I had to say, yes, I gave back all this equipment. Yes, okay. And then there were like 10 questions, and I could answer yes or no. And it was like, you know, do you think you were managed well? Do you think, you know, was your job rewarding, et cetera, et cetera? And I was just like, yes, no, maybe. You know, yes, yes. Most of them were yes, actually. Except the rewarding was no. Not rewarding job.
Well, I mean,
you know,
honestly, I don't think I've ever had a rewarding job, at least in terms of my career advancement or my degree or the stuff I know or I'm good at.
Yeah. And it's not rewarding in money. I mean, the job I had until today, the money was enough, you know. The people there, they weren't they weren't like my best friends, but they were all cool. I couldn't, you know, it'd be tough to ask for better, you know, considering all these people who complain about their evil boss. You know, my boss I didn't do work for a whole year and he didn't say anything. That's, you know. And when I go to see him in the city, he's always like, hey, what's going on? Happy to see me and all that. You know, so, you know, they're not bad people. It's just I was tired of sitting in the middle of nowhere doing nothing.
Nah.
I made that clear. I gave back my laptop after erasing it. And that's that.
Yep. Well, I guess now I better get a new job to keep up with the Joneses since now you make more money than me.
Yes, I do. I have a 35% more money than I used to be making at my new job, which who knows when I'm going to start it. Probably a few weeks.
Yeah, well, plus your company apparently is paying for your 2 weeks, but you don't have to work.
Yeah, I'm getting paid at my current job until the 15th, and I'm also getting paid for any vacation days I did not use, and my insurances and my benefits last until the end of the month. And then there's Cobra, which can allow me to use them even longer if I need to. Because who knows, at the new job, usually, like, your new benefits don't kick in for 90 days or some crap like that. So I might have to use the Cobra to go to the dentist or something.
Yeah, well, actually, the job I got, my benefits kicked in almost immediately. Like, within 2 weeks. It was like, bing!
Yeah, at the job that I just quit from, the benefits didn't kick in. Was it 30 days? It was a while. Yeah.
Well, technically, the company I'm working for now, too, they originally, you know, you don't start accruing vacation for the first 90 days.
Oh, I hate that.
But I basically said, I'm going to take a bunch of vacation this month when I start with you, and then I'm going to take a bunch more vacation 2 months later. And they said, well, we'll just start accruing your vacation now. And I said, that's fine.
All right. Yeah. Also, because I just gave back my laptop to its technical owners.
Now Scott's got this.
I have to go buy one.
Scott's got some dead tree with some words printed on it that he's staring at in front of his microphone boom.
Yeah.
Hey, at least you got the boom now, so now you can use that extra hand to hold that piece of paper.
Yeah, like the microphone boom, I was like, I don't need no stinking microphone stand, whatever. And then I was like, all right, whatever, we'll get one at Radio Shack. It was like 30-something bucks for the stand and the boom stick. And
this is my boomstick.
Boomstick. And, I didn't realize this when I got it, but the huge advantage of having the microphone on some sort of stand or boom is that both of my hands are free when podcasting. Up until yesterday, I was podcasting with one hand on the microphone. So now when I get a new laptop, I can type on it and podcast at the same time.
Yeah, though, we'll see if you actually get that laptop in any reasonable span. As we've discovered, there aren't actually any easy ways to buy good laptops anywhere.
Yeah, check
here.
this shit, right? I did research, and I decided I want this X60. I'm still, there's information I want to know to decide between the ThinkPad X60 and the X60S. But besides that, on the Lenovo website, I can get the X60 for $1,800, and it comes with a Core 2 Duo and 1.5 gigs of RAM and the better battery and all this stuff, right? If I buy that same thing for Newegg with half a gig of RAM, so 1/3 the RAM, and everything else, the small battery, it's $2,200 from Newegg, the place that's supposed to be discounted. What the hell? It makes no sense.
I don't know. When it comes to anything like that, if I can, I try to just buy direct, and I pay whatever the company that makes it would want me to pay.
I think I'm just gonna have to cave in. I'll buy it from the Lenovo website and wait 2 weeks for them to send it to me.
So anyway, in the news, people on our forums posted this and we're talking about it, but CNN had this kind of skewed, oh no, the atheist segment not too long ago.
Great.
And the funny
Just
thing
what we
is,
need.
the internet responded in kind. Now, I've noticed over time that Dig is very much generally pro-atheist. You can see that in any religion thread where generally atheist comments get dug way the hell up and religious comments get dug way the hell down.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you have a site that's editorial, like most sites were prior to Dig, actually coming out and saying, yeah, we're actually going to do that crazy idea everyone's been yelling about for 10 years since Slashdot started. Stuff that was super controversial like that or super one-sided would always kind of go, it wouldn't get posted. You wouldn't post a story on the front page of Slashdot that was like, there's no God. But on Dig, there is a democracy there of some kind, however it may be swayed by networks of people and scheming.
Well, it's not that. It's just that there's a lot of atheists on Dig, and I think it's starting to come out that the internet as a whole has a lot. I mean, before, atheists weren't really prominent. They were just there. You didn't know if someone was an atheist. You didn't care. But more and more inflammatory things happen, and Dig reacts, and you realize that the majority of the people there are atheists.
Well, atheists tend to be smart people. So
Anyway,
where are the smart people? The internets.
Anyway, CNN did this thing, and immediately there was a story on Dig about it, and it got a crazy number of digs and comments. And the very first comment with a crazy number of up digs was basically a link to the CNN feedback thing. And apparently everyone on Dig followed it because all the people who were on this segment got all sorts of thousands and thousands and thousands of rather displeased emails, and CNN got crazy complaints. Now, we don't know if CNN had planned this already or if they're just reacting or what, but apparently tonight, as we're doing Geeknights, Richard Dawkins is going to be on CNN.
That's a funny coincidence you have there.
Now, someone in the forum suggested that maybe CNN did this on purpose, and there's no way anyone at CNN is that smart.
No.
They didn't plan this. I imagine that there's a guy in charge of programming for whatever that night, and he's sitting there, and his aide comes in, and, sir, we got 1 million complaints about that atheist thing. What atheist thing? That thing we did. Crap. We better do the opposite side of that thing. Get that Richard Dickens guy I keep hearing about in the news. He wrote some book.
Yeah. It pleases me to see that now the opinion of the internet is starting to have some sort of effect. Like, people who are in the old media are starting to get it a little bit. Like, the tiniest bit of getting it. Well, they don't have it by far, but they're starting to get it.
There's that newspaper guy who said, yeah, you know what, we might not be printed in 5 years. I don't care. And there was snakes on a plane, which would never have happened without the internet. While it was bad, at least they noticed that the internet was there, and they tried.
Yeah. Oh, whatever. It's like we got the hook. Like, it's starting to stab the tongue, but we haven't hooked them and reeled them in yet. When they're in my boat and I'm cooking them, then we'll be all set.
And then we'll see the Juggernaut live-action movie.
Oh, God, no.
Oh, God. My helmet.
That movie would be such a bitch. Okay. All right, so I don't know if we've talked about this before on the show, but it's well known, probably among most of our longer time listeners, that we are skeptical of things.
God, Scott is skeptical of me when I come home and I tell him something like, I had pizza for lunch today. He's like, what kind of pizza?
You didn't have a pizza. Well, it's mostly I'll be skeptical when Rim exaggerates something. Like, he'll say, I had the best pizza today. I'm like, no, there's no way you had the best pizza today.
No, because I had the best pizza I had that day.
Whatever. Anyway, one thing that we are skeptical of is the belief that there are aliens visiting us.
Yes, okay, there we go. Because, Carl Sagan and all that, it is totally within the realm that there is life out there somewhere in the billions and billions and billions.
There probably is. The odds are that out in the universe, there is some sort of life other than human beings on some other planet, or maybe in between the planets, or on a sun, or on a moon.
There's even good odds that there's intelligent life out there. However, based on all we know about the laws of physics, and based on the fact that, by and large, the only people who claim to see UFOs are idiots, delusional and or drunken people, or people who really have no credibility anyway. And also the fact that, despite the fact that we've got, cameras everywhere now. Everyone has cameras, high definition, this and that, and yet, how come there really aren't any more UFO pictures?
Well, there are, but all of them are incredibly blurry.
Or incredibly, there's the string. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I would believe it. Actually, I kind of want to believe in aliens and stuff, but the evidence is so flimsy. Good God.
See, when I was a little kid...
It's almost as if, like, a 3-year-old kid, like, pulls a prank to get his mom to believe that his brother did something bad. It's that much of a sham job, yet all these people believe it.
You mean like my little brother, when he would punch himself in the arm until he got a bruise and then yell for our mother, and she'd come in and he'd yell, "He hit me!" And the absolute outrage that I would feel because there was nothing I could do. I mean... I try to explain, no, he was hitting himself. I didn't do it. There's no way any parent's going to believe that.
All right, so anyone who believes that there are gray men from Mars walking around and that Roswell was something other than a military project of some sort, you're a nut job, according to us.
See, when I was a little kid...
And according to psychologists and psychiatrists.
When I was a little kid... I kind of believe.
Oh, I totally believe. Like when I was in middle school.
Mostly because I'd watch all those shows. Like
I totally watched all the same shows.
I read Fate magazine and I watched.
I read legit too.
And I watched Unsolved Mysteries.
My first website that I ever made had like a little section like, "Ooh, there are aliens, OMG."
What? By the time I knew how to make a website, I was well past that.
No, it was in my second website. That section disappeared.
When did you make your first website? Because that must have been late middle school, high school at the earliest.
I think it was like 1995 or 6.
All right.
And then I made a new website in 97, 98.
I stopped believing there were aliens in pretty much 5th or 6th grade when I started reading real newspapers, and I kind of realized...
Well, I didn't start believing in the aliens until like 7th or 8th grade. So.
Oh, I believed it when I was a little kid, because I'd watch Unsolved Mysteries, and they'd be like...
See, I was scared to watch Unsolved Mysteries as a little kid. It wasn't until middle school when I was brave enough to watch Unsolved Mysteries that I believed in it.
See, you were probably smarter. I was more like Bill Cosby as a kid, where I'd watch the Unsolved Mysteries. And I wouldn't be afraid of it. And I'd be fine. My parents would be like, you're going to have nightmares. You're going to come crying. You're going to blah, blah. I'd be like, no, Mom.
Unsolved Mysteries is a scary show for a little kid.
But I was like,
there was one that was all about George Washington's ghost. Oh, God.
I was all for it. It didn't bother me at all. Mm-hmm. Until it's time to leave Grandma's house. I'm sitting at Grandma's house, and there's the
I
giant
actually watched
window.
it at Grandma's house also.
Because my grandma, but there was this giant window that went out to the back carport, and this other giant window. There were a lot of dark places in my grandma's house because the house was gigantic, and they didn't leave all the lights on. So normally I'd be watching the show, and I'd be like, yeah. And then after the second child murderer mystery is talked about, I'd keep thinking I see someone lurking outside, but I'd be too afraid to act like I saw it because then they'd know I knew, and then they'd get me.
I'm just glad that show's off the air.
And
anyway.
then they'd show the UFO, and I'd swear. One time, we were going home from my grandma's house, and I swear, in the car next to us, I saw the dude from the Unsolved Mysteries driving, and he looked at me, and I was like, crap. And I told my mom, and she told me to be quiet. And I was so afraid he was going to follow our car home and get me.
So my news.
What? Nobody cares about your news.
So apparently, the military of Chile, the country Chile in South America.
Chile?
Chile. The military there believes in UFOs and aliens and shit.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
There was an international ufology conference of some sort. And these big name guys from the Chilean military came and did presentations and stuff. And it was kind of crazy. Here, at the conference was retired official Armando Valdez, who is noted for his involvement in one of Chile's first documented UFO abductions, which became known as the Valdez case in 1977.
Wait a minute.
Valdez, along with 5 members of an army patrol, saw 2 bright objects descending from the sky. Valdez set out alone to investigate. According to the men, simply vanished. 15 minutes later, they said he reappeared, tried to speak, and passed out. The date on his watch had been advanced 5 days, and he had about a week's growth of beard.
You know what? Now, normally I'd say there's probably a rational explanation, but I'd go one step further and say that these guys just made that bullshit up to cover for something they were doing.
Either that or they were all doing drugs.
Nah, it wasn't drugs. I'm almost certain that they made it up to cover up them not doing their job.
Who knows? Either way.
Or maybe, I don't understand the rationale of some of these people. Like, if I actually saw an alien, if an alien came into my window and I saw one, I'd tell everyone, be like, yeah, but what would it take? You can't, who would make that up? Who would sit down and, I'm going to act like aliens abducted me, because that'll make me
I think another
cool.
problem is that you make up a story like this, and you tell it to yourself, and you tell it to your friends, and you tell it to people so many times, you end up believing it yourself, that's what really happened. Because that happened to me once.
No. Who tells it in the first place?
I don't know, man.
That's the logical leap there. I can understand believing your own lie.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just going to say people are still crazy about these UFOs because it has died down in recent years, the craziness about UFOs. It was much stronger in the 90s. And
well, the 90s was that magical era where the internet existed, but it wasn't that widely available. So there was still that, check out this picture of a UFO. No one's debunked this. Check out this magazine that has all this evidence. And you didn't have an internet to just go obviously refute it. So you'd say, oh, a scientific paper? I have to believe that. I
remember one time I sent in a Freedom of Information Act request for information about Roswell and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I might still have it somewhere. What they sent back. It was just a bunch of papers with stuff blacked out. I don't know. It wasn't very interesting, nor did it make sense.
See, nowadays they'll send you a redacted PDF where you can just take the black bars away because they. Remember that story?
Oh yeah, that was funny.
Things of the day. I now have to conclude my awesome Rims Hitler was born to be alive theme week.
Oh shit, I wonder what Scott's theme is going to be next week.
I don't know. Scott gave me a preview, and I'm not.
I don't know if I haven't sold on that theme yet.
I'm not. See, I'm not totally worried. I'm not thinking Scott's gonna steamroller me, but at the same time, I don't know if you can top Hitler was born to be alive week.
I don't know. See, the thing is, while your theme itself, in essence, is high quality, the actual things of the day selected to support your theme, while the first one, of course, embodied your theme entirely. I don't know if all your things of the day are as great as the idea that your theme projects.
Well, the thing is, the first thing, anyone who hasn't listened to the rest of this week should look at all of my things of the day this week. The first one was probably my favorite. It's what spawned it all, that music video set to Hitler singing Born to Be Alive. That was burn.
All right.
But the thing is, the Hitler needs a car that isn't a rice car thing, I think was incredibly hilarious.
It was definitely the funny. I don't know if it was incredibly hilarious. It was the funny.
And the fact that we found that video of that kid dancing in that whatever thing to that other techno remix of Born
That
to
was
Be
all.
Alive.
I enjoyed that one a lot just because I like those.
See, I think the theme, it wasn't so much the theme, Hitler was born to be alive. It was that by choosing the theme from that first thing of the day, I ended up finding these weird, funny things of the day that I never would have found otherwise unless I was searching for this one weird thing.
So rather than just accept what normally comes through the pipeline on Dig as being popular and everyone's already seen it, you pick something and you search for that something, and then you find the best stuff that comes up for that search.
Now, I remember I used to do that in the early days of Google Video. Once the top 100...
But you would always just search for pund or cool or funny or cat.
Yeah, and
or...
then one day I thought, you know what? I wonder how I could find something awesome that no one else has already seen, or something that just isn't in the internet presence right now. So I searched for the word British, and I found a bunch of funny stuff, and I searched for a couple other random words and found funny things. And in fact, back when Penny Arcade used to have the awesome archive search that they since totally gimped, I remember sometimes I'd type a random word in, and it would give me a semi-random sampling of Penny Arcades to read.
Yeah, those are the good days. Now
Those
we
are-
have books.
Yep, we got books.
Which are scary once you look inside at certain pieces of information.
I was reading, the third Penny Arcade book has references to when the Xbox came out, and I thought, that wasn't that long ago, was it? It wasn't that long ago.
It's the third Penny Arcade book, right? So the third year of Penny Arcade, the Xbox One came out. And you know what year that was? 2002.
You know what made me feel even older? We're going to do a show on this as soon as I convince Scott to watch it. But I got a copy of this thing that I saw in 1993 on TV called Wild Palms, which was this science fiction kind of awesome made-for-TV movie in 2 parts. And I just realized now that I finally, after all these years, got a hold of it again. I want to see now if what I think of it is the same as what my 11-year-old self thought of it. But
we will find out next week.
it turns out that it's set in the year 2007.
Uh-oh.
Totally out of the blue, which made me, and it made me feel...
At least it's no Crystallis.
God. But yeah, at least anytime I think I'm feeling a little old, I remember that old man Scott Johnson will always be older than us.
Take that, old man Scott Johnson.
But anyway, I had a bunch of candidates for how to finish off Hitler was born to be alive week. There was this funny animation of Hitler singing in his bunker, and there was this stupid rap music video to Hitler and all this stuff. There was also, and I realized that what I should do is I should, like a fireworks show, where they have, little firework, and then they shoot a whole bunch off at once as the finale. So what I got here are all the straight up music videos to this song that are not jokes.
Oh.
These are actual music videos or things that are what music videos were before MTV came. Just a video of the band playing of this song. Various techno remixes. Perhaps my favorite, other than the original. Well, let's talk about them in order. There's the original. The original video by Patrick Hernandez. There are about 40, as far as I can tell, different performances of him doing this song. And I don't think he ever did another song. Ever. That anyone
Well, he
cared
was a
about.
one-hit wonder. I'm sure that he had an album. I'm sure we could get that album.
He
but
also-
everything else in the album is probably crap.
Doesn't look the way you think he would look. He's kind of scary. He has this weird kind of dance that all the videos of him, he does the same dance.
With this cane, it looks like a child molester.
Burn, burn.
Burn
You don't
to be
realize how
alive.
weird he says the word Martin until you listen to this song a bunch of times, and then you see the shape of his mouth when he says it. And also, it's just, he's kind of weird. I don't know.
That's why it was a one-hit wonder. People, the song was good enough that they would tolerate it, but everything else are just like, get the hell out of here.
So
scary
then there's
man.
this punk rock metal band.
Uh-oh.
I didn't listen to enough of them to figure out what genre they're actually in, but they covered this song. And I think what stands out the most, aside from the fact that, how bands like, the Gwar style of band, they have their face when they're playing, that like, kind of face. The scowl, the whatever they're doing.
Yeah, most metal bands have a face.
These guys have a diarrhea face. Now, more importantly, what stood out more than anything was the fact that the guy has a base in the shape of a coffin.
That obviously, I'm pretty sure he made it himself.
It's so lame. And they're
It's
terrible.
so tacky.
They're terrible. Now, the worst thing is, if you watch this video, look at the YouTube comments. The comments aren't, what the fuck is this band? This is scary. The comments are, yeah, that was from the coffin era of this band.
Wow. If my band has a coffin era, just shoot me.
That could be awesome.
Put me in a coffin.
That could be awesome. However, this band, not so much.
Imagine if, like, the second season of Utena was the Coffin Saga.
It pretty much was.
I know, but I'm saying, like...
It was straight up, in fact.
If they called it that...
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised there are people who do, because half of it is certain people talking to each other while coffins are being wheeled away in the background. In fact, the stock footage that they play during the elevator thing before the duel...
I know, but wouldn't it be so much tackier than the Black Rose Saga, which it is named? That's all I'm saying. It's tacky. The name is tacky itself.
Yeah, but then there's cars.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, I got a thing of the day, too.
Oh, do you?
Yes. I don't know if I used it as a thing of the day, even though I'm pretty sure I did. There was a video of a little midget kid in India.
Yeah, you say midget now. Scott was like, oh, Rim, you remember this? And I'm like, I don't remember any video of an Indian guy dancing. And Scott's like, yeah. It's
I said it was a kid. He was a little kid.
Yeah, it's like he's this Indian kid dancing. No, it's an Indian midget who happened to be a child at the time dancing.
Back when then, you didn't know he was a midget yet because he was still a kid.
No, we knew he was a midget. We knew.
I thought he was just a small kid.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
No, he was obviously a midget.
Anyway, it's a midget kid. And it was a video of him dancing. And it was all over the internet because he danced really well for a little midget kid.
You know what that's like? It's like if, say, one of our friends was killed by an apple a long time ago. And instead of saying, hey, remember when so-and-so was killed by that apple? You said, hey, remember that apple?
Anyway.
Okay, anyway.
Someone, as, using the power of the internet, I guess, discovered what happened to this midget kid.
Ooh.
He's now a midget choreographer in Bollywood. And there's a video of him teaching someone this dance to do that they're gonna do in like a movie or a TV show or a commercial or whatever they're doing.
Well, good on him. I'm glad he made something of himself.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty cool that you can go on the internet and see a video like, oh my god, there used to be this midget kid who danced really awesomely in India, and now you can see that that midget kid is a midget choreographer in India, and the world is one.
That is, in fact, the power of the internet.
He also does awesome dancing. I always love watching people dance.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
If only I could get a hold of all the news like that whenever I wanted. If only I had some sort of overlay where I could see someone and, like, put a bookmark on them. And then 2 years later, just hit the button and see what they've done.
Yeah. I don't know. If I was in some sort of lame story where there was a genie and I couldn't wish for all the really cool, smart wishes.
You mean like more wishes and all the powers of a genie without any of the constraints?
Or being a wizard or anything like that. If I couldn't do any cool wishes and I had to do a lame wish, I would definitely wish for dancing skills.
You know, those can be had with practice, books, and cool people telling you how to dance.
I don't have the right DNA.
See, that's why we go to anime cons, because there we can be cool.
I do not. I have some rhythms. I have more rhythms than most people. I mean, I can play DDR, and I don't mess up.
See,
but I do not have enough rhythms to, achieve the next
What
level.
I've learned in my years of dancing, both at real clubs and at concerts and at anime cons of varying levels of nerdliness, is that unless you are somehow broken, you can put forth a minimal dancing effort that is well above being ridiculed.
You can definitely get above the ridicule level. I believe I'm above the ridicule level.
Oh, yes, we both are. In fact, well...
However, I am not at the level of I could get a job dancing for a DJ company.
No.
I could make a video on YouTube of me dancing and people would think it was cool. Or
I don't know.
I could do a cool dance move.
Numa.
That's not the same thing. You got to have people respect for the dancing and not for your fatness.
I know I am at least at the level. I'm not at the level where at any reasonable dance or dancing item, I could actually be in the center of one of those circles and having people actually care about me.
See, I don't want to be the center of attention. That's above my goal.
Yeah.
My goal is to just, my dancing should get some level of positive attention because it is pleasant to look upon me while I dance. It brings some pleasure to people to look upon it, as opposed to just,
looky mighty.
Yes.
My favorite thing, all I want out of dancing is if I'm dancing and someone else is dancing and we make eye contact, if they give me that nod of, I approve of the fact that you exist and are dancing, and I return that nod, that's all I want.
Mm-hmm.
That nod of, we're dancing. Ain't it great?
Yeah, I think that's the level I'm at now. I want one step more.
Of course, I remember...
wouldn't mind being the ultimate breakdancing god or anything, but I'm just saying.
You can't beat that kid.
No, can't beat that kid. All right.
But I do remember at Katsucon a while ago, I was dancing with a friend of mine. We're, hanging out. There's a bunch of funny stories about that. Maybe we'll tell him at Katsucon.
Maybe.
But, where he's dancing really well. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, he must actually know how to dance. Someone must have taught him. God damn. Halfway through 80s night, he leans over and says, hey, Rim, am I dancing okay? I don't know if I know how to dance, and I think I look stupid. And I'm just like, dude.
That is a problem, is that many people have the natural rhythm. But no one ever tells you, hey, you're dancing well or anything like that. Especially not guys. If you're a guy.
Well,
unless you're gay or something.
Or you're just, not homophobic like us.
Well, I mean, you'd have to ask. Like, I wouldn't just say, hey, Rim, you're dancing real well. Because then Rim would say, you know how I know you're gay?
Yeah, I would. But however, you know how I know you're gay is not an accusation of gayness. It is merely an acknowledgement.
I know. But I would still seek to avoid receiving that, what I'm saying.
I know you like to avoid receiving, but...
Exactly. All right. What are we talking about today in our main bits?
Professionalism.
What do you mean professionalism? Professionalism as opposed to amateurism?
Well, no, you see, we actually, way back, we did a show on, either we did a show or we said we were going to do a show.
We don't remember. That's how many shows we've done. We don't remember. You have to tell us because we have no clue.
God, Return Independent to Godot. They're like, did we talk about that? I don't know. Whatever. Let's talk about it again.
Yes, you've done 3 shows on why you should be allowed to smoke weed, but you won't. Do something else, guys.
But anyway, I'm just going to assume we did one. We did a show on how to do a good panel at an anime con or any kind of con.
Did we?
Or we said we were going to do it.
I don't remember.
Regardless, during the planning of that, we decided that the idea of professionalism is worthy of a separate show in and of itself beyond that. So here we are talking about professionalism.
Well, I think the reason that professionalism is kind of important is that it's sort of the foundation of most of our How to Not Suck shows. It's like if you don't suck at being professional, then you will not suck at many other things.
Yep. So before we continue, as Scott was alluding to, we really have to take care of the fact that we're not talking about this other totally different dichotomy of amateur versus professional, which basically comes down to paid to do it versus doing it for free or something along those lines. That seems to be the demarcation most people make.
Yeah, we're not talking about official professionalism. We're not talking about the difference between NFL and NCAA, where one's a pro sport and one's college sports. We're not talking about the difference between how the Olympics only used to allow amateur athletes and now it allows professional athletes.
Yeah, in fact, if you want to get where we're using the word professionalism, we are an amateur podcast that is done professionally.
That's right.
We are professional amateurs.
We're using the other definition of professional.
Now, I guess we start this with a story because I remember way back RIT Anime Club. I was on the e-board. I had just gotten in by fiat. I wasn't elected. I was one of those presidents who never actually got elected. They just got appointed, and then they were good enough that no one ever bothered to run against him since then. Because I never ran in my first 2 elections. But anyway, I get on this board. And, we have some conflict with this other club that's causing trouble. And we make the argument that, well, they're just not being professional about this. It had to do with a certain convention.
Mm-hmm.
And, we say to the head of clubs who's mediating this dispute that they're not handling themselves in a professional manner. We can't work with them. And his response was, this is a club and a school. You shouldn't be professional about it. There's no reason to be professional about it. And that statement bothered me a lot.
That would bother me as well a great deal.
You see, all professionalism means, without getting into specifics, is handling yourself in a generally intelligent, receptive, responsible manner.
Respectful.
Yes,
also.
That's it.
Man.
That's it. Respectable and respectful. Yeah. It goes both ways.
Mostly the respectable.
So to use, the anime examples, since we always tend to fall back on anime, it seems to be one of our primary geekeries. We devote a whole night to it.
Mm-hmm.
Panels at cons. a professional panel, or a panel that is run in a professional manner, is a good panel. I'd say our panel, but I'll go with the OC Remixes panel as an example.
No, they were very professional with their panel.
Now, what does that mean? They came in, they had a plan, they had all their stuff ready to go, they knew what they were going to talk about, they had all their props ready, everyone involved in the panel knew their role, they started on time, or as on time as you could start, they finished on time, and they put together a well-run presentation. They handled all eventualities in a professional manner.
Yeah, while they are not professionals, they are not an actual, whereas, say, the ADV panel, those people are professionals, They do things in a professional way because they're a company. That's the way they do things. If you do things in that way, whether you're actually, quote, professionals or not, in the paid fashion, you are doing things in a good way. There's a reason that professionals do things that way. It's not because, all of a sudden when there's money and companies involved, you have to do things a certain way. But really, you shouldn't do it that way. That's just the way you have to do it if you're being paid money. No, that's the way you're supposed to do things. And doing it the other way is because you suck.
So let's take an example from what was a really bad panel at Otakon. There was that old school anime panel.
Did I go to that one?
Yeah, we went to it and we bitched about it and then we left. That was the one with Space Ghost.
That was wasn't that Transformers panel? Or was that?
I didn't go to that
Transformers
one.
panel before the old. I don't even remember.
Whatever.
It was the one with Space Ghost. Yes.
Yes, the crap panel. Now this was a panel with 4 dudes. Maybe there's a girl there. I don't even remember. But these people didn't have a plan. They didn't have any sort of preparation. They started late. They went long. They floundered. They obviously had not actually thought this through at all. And as a result, they put together a piss-poor presentation.
Yeah, they came up there, all right? This guy, did his Space Ghost joke for like a few minutes, and I was just rolling my eyes. And then they sat up there, and they were like, hey, guys, yeah, we're supposed to do, an old school anime panel or something? Yeah, we're just 4 guys up here saying stuff. We put together this short video. That was the only preparation we did. Let's watch it. And people scream when they see their favorite anime on the video, as is done at anime conventions.
Yeah, or any.
And then when it was over, they just let people in the crowd yell out questions, and then they just kind of answered them in their haphazard, dorky way. And then when their time was eventually up, they were shoved out, and that was it.
Yep. I mean, professionalism, like we said, it just comes down to not being dumb and planning ahead.
Mm-hmm. And trying. If you don't try, you will suck.
Now, the scary thing is, I've worked for IBM, and I work for the company I work for now, and I've worked for mostly very large companies. And you'd think, corporate America, big business, the big iron, the real deal, that everyone in an organization like that, who is an actual, not like the janitors and all that, but the actual, like the meat and potatoes employees.
The managers and the executives.
The managers, the executives, the technologists, the researchers, the scientists, all the people who do the things that make that company work. You'd assume that they would all conduct themselves in a professional manner. And I have found in my years of working for various corporations and being in corporate America that by and large, very few people have the sheer ability to put forth even the facade of professionalism.
Yeah, something that always bothers me, I think it really stands out in corporate, like in the company emails.
Yeah, I mean, the company
when
always...
I send an email to anyone in my company, right? Whether it's, like the closest coworker, and I just have to tell them, hi, how you doing? Or what's the status of something? Even if it's real short, I write, dear so-and-so,
Yep.
thanks, me. I write it like it's a letter, and I check it for spelling, and I put more than... I don't just shoot off a quick email in 10 seconds. I just can't bring myself to do that. I have to check it. The grammar has to be right. I have to write out the entire words. I have to put a little heading and a signature and the salutation and everything.
Yep.
That's the way it has to be done.
Yep. Now, I mean, depending if I can send a quick email in my private life to Scott.
Yeah, there's no problem with that, no.
And but like Geeknight stuff too. If I respond to any email, especially in a corporation, I do the same thing as Scott. My email is basically, as far as I'm concerned, a corporate memo fully exemplifying everything that I am as a professional. It reflects on me. Just like I wouldn't wear a pair of black sweatpants and a stained coffee shirt to a job interview or to a meeting with a client, I'm not going to put that persona in my corporate communications.
Mm-hmm. It's like if someone sent me an email like, okay, thanks, bye. Oh my God, right? You did that work for me. I would say I would not respect that person. I'd be like, wow, that person's a doofus.
That person obviously is not a professional.
Yes. So I wouldn't want anyone else to think of me in that way, that I'm thinking, at least not in a corporate environment. Most of the time I don't give a shit what people think about me. But when I want something from someone, or if it's a person at a company and I'm dealing with them in a professional manner and I need to get an upper hand in some dealings, then I need to make them think that I'm professional and to look upon me, to look up at me instead of down. And therefore, it is beneficial to write things in professional manner.
In fact, that seems to be pretty much the most overall important thing of being professional. Professionalism really just entails not taking things personally. It's like you have your personal self, your you, the real you. And
the real me is like, whatever, dude, fuck you.
Yeah, but when you're being professional, it's like court etiquette when you're in front of the king or whatever you're doing. You put forth not so much a lie. It's not like a fake mask. It's just, I am putting forth this persona that is my professional persona because I am trying to conduct business with you in the most efficient manner possible. I want you to think highly of me, and I hope that I will think highly of you. I am putting forth the effort that I would expect you to put forth on whatever work you're doing for me and vice versa.
Yeah, when I'm acting professional, obviously that's not my true inner self. But I don't really think of it as lying, because I do think that some forms of pretending to be someone else are lying. But when you're acting professional, you're not going up to someone and saying, haha, I'm not actually a doofus, I'm a professional guy. That's not what you're doing. What you're saying is, look, I might, my true attitude might be completely different from what you're seeing now. But I have the ability and the intelligence to act in a manner that is presentable and respectful, and therefore, I am worthy of respect no matter what my true opinions and ideals and attitude are.
See, you can conduct yourself in a professional manner and still totally suck. It has nothing to do with it.
That is true.
But if someone is unable, now unwilling is another thing, but if someone is unable to put forth that persona, if someone is unable to check, if you misplace a preposition in an email, that even a professional email, that's not the biggest deal. But if you forget to capitalize the letter I multiple times in a
or if you say, what's your favorite? Please advice.
Please advice
with an S.
Or even please advise, but they use it in the entirely wrong way. Just anything like that. Obviously, it shows that while you are dealing with me in a professional manner, you are not willing to put forth the trivial effort required to be professional about it. Now, if you're not willing to do that, what else are you not willing to do for me? What else are you going to fuck up?
It's a wonder. Like, so many people, like, they want things and they don't get them and they wonder why. And the answer a lot of times is because you're not professional. You're not acting like a professional. It's sort of like, it's the old saying, like, if you act like, you're worth $1 million, then eventually you'll have $1 million.
Yeah.
It's not so true, but there's something to it. If you go up, to say a rock star or someone, you want them to give you an autograph. If you just go, eek, 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 you're just a raving fan and they don't care. But if you go up and you go, hi, how are you doing? My name is blah, 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 such and such, and you act professional, you can get their attention and get shit you want because you stick out and you're not a doofus. You're obviously someone intelligent because you can do that.
Yeah. We get into most cons we go to now free and we do all this stuff. I remember there was another podcast that I'm not going to mention because I don't like this podcast, but they were complaining last year that basically, Otakon didn't give us a panel. But meanwhile, us Geeknights, we got a panel like that. Like, hey, podcasting panel. They said, go nuts.
Yep.
And it really comes down to the only reason we get all these things, aside from our vastly superior skill, talent, intellect, charisma, and the fact that we are gods among men walking upon
yes,
anyway.
But we can't demonstrate any of those amazing things to the people that we want to give us a panel. They don't know that we're geniuses, and we can't convince them of such. All right? The only way for us to get them to give us a panel is by acting like pros and pretending to be pros.
For working staff and stuff for various cons, I've seen the kind of proposals that cons get for panels. And they're usually along the lines of one giant paragraph. Oh my God, I want to run a panel about blah, 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 and it'll be awesome. and I need some people to help me with it, and crap. And it's just this crap, like, barely legible, barely understandable raving of a fan.
They put less effort into it than they put into, like, an instant message.
And yet, when we send a proposal, like I sent our proposals this year for what we want to do at Otakon to the panels coordinator, I wrote a 3-page document describing in exact detail the panels we're willing to do and all that they will entail, the other things we'd be willing to do if they asked that we could provide more detail upon, everything we'd need, everything we would provide, and then an entire resume of all the things we've done in the past, all the things we plan to do, the things we're doing this year. I sent links to recordings of panels that are similar that we've done in the past.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess that's what everything we do, it sounds silly, but everything we do, if it's worth doing professionally.
That's right.
If we decide that we're going to go to Greece, we're actually thinking about going to Greece, you know how everyone knows we're gay. Sometime, like maybe in the fall. We're not sure when. We're just kind of a long-term plan to go on a big vacation to the whole Greco-Roman area. Mm-hmm. And you would not believe the absolute level of planning that we're going to put into this if we actually do it.
Yep.
We put that same level of planning into what we're going to eat for dinner or when we're going to go to the mall.
Yep.
Now, we might not plan it ahead. We might plan things at the spur of the moment. I mean, it's not like we regiment our lives out. Say we're at a con and we decide, hey, we're going to do blah. We just do it. But while we're doing it, the whole time, we're planning ahead, we're coming up with contingency plans, we're handling it in a professional manner. So I guess if you want to get the things you want in the world, whenever you think something's worth getting, if you actually want something, try to approach it in a professional manner, meaning in all of your communications, be careful about what you say. Actually look at what you wrote for more than a second, spell check it, make sure it's got at least decent grammar, make sure it gets the point across.
When you talk to people, present yourself, stand up straight, walk up to them, shake their hand, say things like, hi, I'm so-and-so, and then, give them a professional pitch. Don't use words like, yeah.
Man, I'm totally going to do this shit for you. I got it. Shit, man. Shit.
Yeah. I was wondering if I could do this panel for you. I have X, credentials, such and such. Here's my business card.
If someone sends you communication, actually read it and respond in kind with the information they actually asked for. You know how often...
Promptly?
See, this is the worst thing. In all my jobs, it seems like most people in the corporate world, I get these garbage emails from people, and they don't even ask me for anything. And then a month later, they're like, hey, did you do that thing? And I'm like, what thing? Oh, the thing I asked you to do. And I say, well, when did you ask me to do that? Oh, in this email. And I quote the email back at them, usually copying their manager. Where in this email did you ask me for anything? And the saddest thing is that I got a manager who's actually really smart at my current company, and I usually copy him on stuff. And he actually sent me a reply back, kind of BCC, saying, that was a really good memo. And I didn't know what to say to that. I mean, at one point...
It was like a really good memo. Every memo should be like that. And if I was a boss of a company and every memo... if you sent one unprofessional memo, you would be out the door on your ass so fast.
Well, first, I'd sit you down and ask, so why did you send this memo?
Yeah, I'd make sure to humiliate you before I put you out on the curb.
I did that once at IBM. I was dealing with this guy, and he was a total... The guy wasn't the brightest guy. And he was in this other department, and everyone in my department knew that he was not the best guy. Eventually, he sends me this terrible long correspondence. It looked like a 5th grader wrote it. So I responded, with the exact same request for information that I had made, 10 or 11 times in the past. And, I copied in the email all the times I had asked and all the answers he'd given that didn't answer it. And furthermore, I corrected all of the spelling or grammar in his emails to me in my reply. I left IBM not too long after that. I never really found... I don't think he even noticed, to be perfectly honest.
No, I think there's another component to acting professionally that we haven't touched on, and that is confidence. Like, I went to a job interview. I quit my job today, and I have a new job already. When I went to the job interview, back in the day when I went to job interviews, I was, just like a nervous kid, whatever. Like, oh, God, am I going to get hired? Whatever.
Yep.
Went to this job interview, and I conducted myself in a professional manner.
Mr. Manager.
Yes, with no nervousness at all. I was just, hey, hello, how are you? Yes, that would be terrific, etc., etc. And I got the job without any, like that day, they're like, yes, you have the job. And it's why? Because I was incredibly confident. And I was just like, yeah, you're going to hire me. That's right. That's what you're going to do.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
look how smooth I am. That's right. You know, if you don't have that frame of mind, then even if you try to act professionally, you're going to be kind of slow and off the mark. And it'll come off as like, what's wrong with this guy? You know, it has to be so natural. It's really, you know, there's something to it.
Yep. I mean, if you don't have the confidence in yourself to do something, why would you ever expect other people to have confidence in you to do that thing? And on that note, I guess we're done. Stay tuned next week when we'll have a short week as we're going to Katsucon to, in a professional manner, help run the video game room.
One last thing, professionalism. Honesty.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing. If you make a mistake at a job, like say you mess something up, most people kind of try to hide it or try to pass off the blame. You've got to just be upfront and be like, as soon as you realize you made a mistake, you send the memo out to whoever cares saying, the following mistake was made by me. Here's what I will do to rectify it.
Is there anyone that we can think of, like a public figure, who is just ridiculously professional?
Well, we don't know a lot about their personal communication. I mean, Elliot Spitzer acts professionally, but I don't know how he acts internally.
Because I want to have like a what would so-and-so do?
What would Barack Obama do if he were here right now?
I don't know. He'd probably smile with his gigantic teeth.
God, that man.
You know, if he ever gets like more popular and they start making political cartoons of him, his teeth and those things are just going to be like so huge.
Yeah, the thing is, the political cartoonists will be, because they want to caricature him, and that's the obvious caricature, but they don't want to appear racist.
Yeah, it has big teeth.
I know, but
it has nothing to do with race.
Oh, I know, but it'll be a fine line. And I think a lot of political cartoonists are going to worry about it.
They used to draw Teddy Roosevelt with big teeth also.
Yeah.
All right, that's off topic. I think we're done.
But yeah, be professional in all you do, or at least all you do that you care about and that you want other people to care about. You can do things unprofessionally. Just don't expect other people to respect those things or care about those things or ask you to ever do them for them again.
Yeah, and when you're posting on our forums, keep that in mind.
Yeah, Mr. Period has been busy lately. I really don't know what he's been up to, but even if he isn't that active, we'll get another moderator to fix some of you people who haven't been so professional lately.
Yes, I'm letting, we're letting some of you off the hook because, All right. We're letting some of you off the hook because you're from foreign countries and your English might not be your first language.
And that's understandable, but a lot of you, we know that you spoke English first. We know that you can spell words.
Yes.
Well, at least we hope.
Well, spelling isn't the problem now that there's a spell checker and Firefox 2 has a spell checker. It's mostly, things like run-on sentences.
Yeah, or not putting line breaks between large blocks of text.
Yeah. Whatever. We're done.
Yep.
3 times we're done.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.